Hello, comic lovers. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Boys comic series. In the previous episode, we saw Starlight become part of the Seven team, replacing Lamplighter. On her very first day at work, Homelander and Black Noir harass her, and even Queen Maeve doesn't speak to her directly. Annie, aka Starlight, realizes that everything she had heard about the Seven was a lie. On the other hand, Huey goes to America where he meets the other members of the Boys, and now they're planning an attack on a superhero team called Teenaged Kicks. Before we move forward, I want to mention that this comic issue and upcoming issues contain a lot of adult content, which I won't be able to show or discuss in the video. So, I apologize for that, but we'll have to adjust. However, I'll definitely find a way to tell you about any important story details. If you want to read the entire comic series, we've written the Boys Comic Correct Reading Order to help you complete the Boys comic series as quickly as possible. You'll find the link to the Boys Correct Reading Order page in this video's description. After this brief update, let's start the story of Issue 4. In the first scene, we see all the members of the Teenaged Kicks team in a building, having fun with some girls. Huey is watching all this from a building across the street using binoculars. The scene changes, and we see all the 7 team members in their headquarters, with a Vought representative sitting in the back. We hear Homelander's voice saying, "And with this, I start this meeting of the 7. We learn that all team members have gathered there for the 7's official meeting. Homelander continues, "The first point of our agenda today is to welcome our new member, Starlight, who has joined the team in place of Lamplighter. I hope you've all individually met Starlight in the past few days, but this is Starlight's first appearance in an official meeting. So Starlight, would you like to say a few words to introduce yourself to all of us?" Starlight stands up hesitantly, visibly nervous about speaking. Seeing this, Homelander says, "Don't worry, you're among friends here, speak freely." Starlight tries again and says, "I just want to say how proud I feel to be part of this team." At this moment, we see A-Train sitting next to her, making strange gestures to remind her of her harassment, which makes Starlight dejected. Homelander says, "Thank you, Starlight. I hope all team members will help you settle in here." Homelander continues, "I think Deep wants to ask something." Deep, who we see for the first time, asks Homelander about merchandising. He wants to know why Homelander, Black Noir, and Queen Maeve get a full 1%, while other team members only get 0.75%. Homelander explains, "Because we're the big 3. We've always been. If you don't understand marketing, compare the sales of our individual trademark merchandise to your merchandise sales." Deep responds that the contract never mentioned a big 3, and he's only heard this term in informal conversations. Meanwhile, a superhero named Jack from Jupiter makes a sexist remark about Queen Maeve. Deep continues, saying that individual popularity is one thing, but the group contract stated that merchandising and its returns would be split equally among all team members. As soon as Deep says this, all team members start yelling at each other about the contract, while Starlight sits there looking troubled. The scene changes, and we see Huey with Butcher and Butcher's dog, Terror. Huey asks Butcher if these people always do this. Butcher replies that last week, they caught a group of villains, so now they're celebrating. Huey then asks if all Supes are like this. Butcher says some are, some aren't, though they all have some kind of kink. Huey notices some girls taking a blue-colored drug and asks Butcher if the building owner isn't taking too much risk by letting them spy like this. Butcher responds that it's not as big a risk as saying no to him would be, and tells Huey not to worry. They agree to meet the next day at 6 p.m. As Butcher leaves with Terror, Huey says he'll take a few more photos. While taking photos, Huey mutters to himself that this isn't a normal drug but something different and blue. The scene changes back to the 7's headquarters, where we hear someone screaming. It's A-Train, who's been beaten by Homelander. Homelander angrily asks A-Train what those antics during the meeting meant. A-Train, crying in pain, says he was just joking. Homelander replies that it was an official 7 meeting, meaning joke time was over. We see Starlight secretly watching this from the side. Homelander picks up A-Train and says, "We can't joke about our money, do you understand?" A-Train agrees. Homelander, calming down a bit, continues, "Glad to hear it. Now you're in the 7, a big team, so keep your behavior accordingly. Otherwise, you'll be thrown back to Teenage Kicks." With that, Homelander leaves. In the next scene, which can't be shown due to the reasons mentioned earlier, Rainer meets Butcher and gives him a dose of Compound V. We then see quick shots of Frenchie, MM, and Huey keeping an eye on several members of Teenage Kicks and taking their photos. Butcher calls these photos lovely. Butcher then approaches a van and asks if there's anything new. Inside the van is Huey, who replies that there's nothing new, but he's wondering if Shootout knows about Big Game and Dognot's relationship. Butcher, pleased, says, "This means you're enjoying the job." Huey admits that while the job is scary, it's also fun, and he's seeing things he never imagined. Butcher explains that most of their money comes from modeling contracts. He then asks Huey to come forward for a minute. As Huey leans in, Butcher injects the Compound V into his neck. Huey, shocked, asks what it was. Butcher tells him it's Compound V and explains he's doing this to boost Huey's system so he can fight Supes. He confirms it's permanent because it's in its pure form. Butcher mentions that the blue drug Huey saw earlier was also Compound V. When Huey asks about side effects, Butcher claims there are none. Huey, panicking, shouts that he can't believe Butcher did this to him. Butcher explains that they've all taken it, and without it, fighting Supes would be impossible. Butcher shows the vial of Compound 5 and explains that this is what gives Supes their powers. It was invented in the 1930s and tested on people. It alters DNA and can be passed down generations. Huey, even more panicked, asks what's going to happen to him. Butcher replies that within a day, Huey will become 15 to 20 times stronger. Huey, angry that this was done without his consent, starts to leave, cursing at Butcher. Butcher tries to explain that Huey will need it, but this only makes Huey angrier as he walks away. But Butcher stops him, saying, "It's been a week since you got here. If I had told you about all this earlier, who knows how long you'd have taken just to think about it. By the time we finished talking, Teenage Kicks might have done something new." Huey replies, "Let them, what do I care?" Butcher says, "You care because this is where you belong. By staying here, you can get revenge on those Supes." Huey responds, "Shut up. Don't try to bring Robin into this now. You put that blue stuff in me and never gave me a choice." As Huey starts to leave, Butcher asks where he's going. Huey says, "To my home in Glasgow." Butcher tries to stop him by calling his name, but Huey doesn't stop. In the next scene, we see Huey has arrived at the South Block Hotel where he initially stayed when he came to the USA. He's about to go to sleep in his room when he notices blood seeping in from under his door. So that was the story of The Boys Comic Issue 4, Part 2. If you liked the video, please like, share, and comment your views. If you enjoy the content on my channel, you can also support me on Buy Me a Coffee. You'll find the link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. If you want to read this comic series, you'll find the correct reading order through the link provided in the description. Thank you for watching, comic lovers. See you in the next video.